Greetings, everyone, and welcome. February the 25th afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the United States. Late evening there in Ukraine, and I can tell you a lot is going on. Zelenskyy just gave his evening address. He made no mention of the mineral deal agreement that we are starting to hear a little bit of rumors coming out, especially from Financial Times, but really no other sources. We shall see. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about facts only. And the fact today is Ukraine smashes the Trump-Putin narrative. We're also going to hear from some guys video-wise that you probably do not know about, but you're going to hear truth and facts. The reality is there are a lot of things happening, but at the same time, there's nothing happening because all the promises, all the words that are coming out of the mouths of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, they're just not happening. And Ukraine is standing strong and fighting the war. So what is the big news? I'm going to share it with you right now. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, telling others. We're growing quickly right now because we're telling the facts and the truth, and we will continue to do so. So thank you for all that you do. Let's get into it right now. President Zelenskyy is the president of Ukraine. Today, the Rada approved the resolution on democracy and the support for Zelenskyy as the legal president of Ukraine. It was already done, guys. He was never the illegitimate leader of Ukraine, but the Rada today approving another resolution stating that Zelenskyy is the democratically elected president of Ukraine. The narrative of Trump is smashed. The narrative of Putin is smashed. You can no longer say that he is illegitimate. You can no longer say that he is a dictator. The Rada has spoken again, not needing to, but they did. Additionally, they came out with other text and narrative in the resolution. Putin is why it is impossible currently to hold free and democratic elections in Ukraine due to the Russian invasion. Elections are impossible under the Constitution, period. Second, after achieving a just peace, and I highlight and capitalize there, just peace, and we're going to talk about that peace in just a moment with some Ukrainian insiders. Ukraine will hold elections in accordance with international standards. Thirdly, the president is democratically elected, period. Fourth, Zelenskyy will perform his duties until the new president takes office as stipulated by the Ukrainian Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, facts only. If you were wondering or you're listening to the rhetoric out there, Vladimir Zelenskyy is the legally elected president of Ukraine. Take that one off the list of the talking coming out of Trump and Putin. Next, Tuesday, February the 25th, that's right now. Do you remember just a few days ago that Donald Trump point blank said out of his mouth that the next meeting that will happen between Russia and the United States in regard to Ukrainian peace, and I'm quoting, that's what was stated by Donald Trump, will be on Tuesday, February the 25th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday, the 25th of February is almost complete in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and it's not happening. In fact, it's not going to happen, and we have no idea tomorrow, the next day, a week from now, a month from now. Nobody knows anything, but what we can tell you is what came out of the mouth of Trump, not happening. You can see my little love hearts there between Trump and Putin. For sure, we have a love fest going on. I additionally have the scaled back images of Lavrov and Rubio just to validate this, because it's Lavrov and Rubio and Witkoff. You know, they go to these meetings in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Well, I can tell you right now, Witkoff is in the United States, and he is preparing actually to go to Israel to have some meetings there with Israel and represent Donald Trump. Marco Rubio's in the United States, and he was talking about there's no way we're going to give Zelenskyy nuclear weapons back. That's a pipe dream. What are those guys talking about? J.D. Vance talking about crazy things. Lavrov, where's Lavrov today? He's not in Riyadh meeting with the Americans. He's in Iran. Today, Lavrov meeting with President Zelenskyy. And what did they meet about? Oh, they had a wonderful time. They were sitting there talking about how they're going to continue to partner together economically, militarily, strategically, to stand against the West. Ladies and gentlemen, You know, it's just interesting. The 25th, we're going to have this second big meeting. All the players are all over the rest of the globe. And I think actually former Ambassador Bolton in an interview stated it best in regard to how Donald Trump negotiates and evidently this love affair between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Take a look at this.
Do you believe when Trump would not call Putin a dictator earlier, is that a negotiating strategy, or do you think he just doesn't think he is one?
Look, Trump's defenders say everything he says is a negotiating strategy, including when he says A and the next day says not A. It's all just a negotiating strategy. I think it's an indication his mind is full of mush, and he says whatever comes into it. He believes Vladimir Putin is his friend. And, you know, you don't call your friends dictators. He doesn't like Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He hasn't liked him since the perfect phone call of the summer of 2018. So it's no sweat off his back to go ahead and call Zelenskyy a dictator. This is somebody who is not fit to be president. He can't tell America's friends from its enemies.
Great statement there, and very accurate by John Bolton. He was actually the former national security advisor under Donald Trump. You think he knows Trump? Of course he knows Trump. And I know there has been so much chaos in that relationship between Bolton and the Trump administration and the MAGA world. But I'm telling you right now, like him or not, disagree, agree, politically stand with or not, irrelevant. John Bolton just told the truth. You can't believe anything that any of these people are saying. It's becoming obvious as we call Vladimir Putin, every time he opens his mouth, it's a lie. You know, because we're getting information right now, breaking right now from Financial Times that there may be an agreement to the rare earth mineral deals. I don't know. We'll wait for confirmation from Ukraine, from the United States, that is official and not just FT. But we do know Vladimir Putin today offering $650 billion dollars worth of rare earth minerals in partnership with the United States that they would partner and share with the U.S., specifically in occupied territories in Ukraine. They're playing this love affair game over money and power and greed. John Bolton calling it like it is. The 25th meeting, not happening. You know, it's interesting also, after Zelenskyy made his strong statements over the weekend, Trump was pretty tempered in his responses. I expected much more fire coming out of Trump, and there still is time for that. For sure, there's a lot of venom coming out of J.D. Vance right now in regard to Vladimir Zelenskyy. It's really sad, but it's interesting. I think right now, Zelenskyy has done a good job responding to the rhetoric that comes from Trump, comes from Putin, and right now he may have popped them back on their heels a little bit, especially with what we're seeing coming out of the European Union, France and Germany, Great Britain, all partnering together with the other nations saying, no, we've got to look at this a different way. This is a war that affects Europe. We're not across the great ocean with a huge barrier between. So we shall see. But for sure, as I've told you guys, don't believe anything until it happens. The 25th meeting did not happen. There's two more stories that I want to give you that you may not get anywhere else. I want to share this gentleman here. His name is Konstantin. He is in the Rada. He states the war will definitely not end in 2025. A freeze or temporary cessation of hostilities is possible, but it will not end this war. Who is Konstantin? He is in the Rada. He is head of the defense committee of the Verkhovna Rada, and he knows what he's talking about. This is actually his statement.
There are opinions that the war might stop or there could be a truce. Given what's happening, it's possible, but will it end the war? Definitely not. The question is how long any truce would last. I've experienced dozens of truces. Some lasted days, others minutes, and some just seconds. While Kiev media talked about ceasefires for weeks, we were still fighting in the trenches, laughing at the idea. Any ceasefire, if it happens, won't last long. We must understand there are no real guarantees. Russia won't stop. They haven't achieved even their minimal goals here.
And there you have it. And ladies and gentlemen, I meant to tell you this earlier. He is a veteran. He He knows what he's talking about, and now serving in the Rada as the head of the Defense Committee. It doesn't matter what you hear. Russia has not achieved its goals. Evidently, the United States has not achieved its goals. And for sure, Ukraine has not achieved its goals. And what is the goals of Ukraine? To have the 1991 borders. It has not changed. We may hear rhetoric, we may hear words, but the liberation and the freedom and the future of Ukraine, that is what Ukraine is fighting for. And I'm telling you, just like he said, the guys in the trenches, they will laugh at it. They will absolutely laugh if they hear of freezing or a truce or a ceasefire, because there are no guarantees in place for anything. And of course, if history is an indicator, we're going to have a completely reverse of what we've experienced over the last 20 years in regard to the security of Ukraine. That is the statement directly from Konstantin, translated so that you can hear it today. I want to introduce you to one more person. His name is Taras Shmut. You may have never heard of this guy, but if you haven't, you are now. He's the founder and the president of the charity foundation Come Back Alive, Taras Shmut. But he's not just the founder of this charity organization. He is also a Ukrainian military veteran. He was a sergeant in 2014. He was a volunteer running aid, and now he started this huge foundation, Come Back Alive. I personally have seen Come Back Alive all over Ukraine. And guys, when we talk about the foundation of Come Back Alive, we're not talking about dropping food baskets and a few little items here and there. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. We're Come Back Alive Foundation. And if you're Ukrainian, you know about it. And if you are a huge supporter of Ukraine, you don't know, you're learning now. We're talking about tanks, armored personnel carriers, military systems. This is what Come Back Alive has supplied to the soldiers on the front lines fighting for Ukraine. Taras Shmut, probably one of the best military analysts, one of the best people to listen to in regard to how the war is really going. Why? He has the experience. B, he also is nonstop on the front dealing directly with military commanders, and he's partnering in the government every day. This guy knows, and this is what he said.
Gladly share Budanov's view and hope it's true, but in our work, we assume everything will stay the same or get worse. We focus on these two scenarios. If fighting stops, there's a truce, peace, or victory, that's great and we support it. We're happy about that, but we must prepare for worse outcomes. This means continued fighting, Russian advances, less US or partner support. Prepare for the worst, then you're ready. If it doesn't happen, great. We've taken all measures and done our best as we did before. We, as an organization, prepared for a full-scale invasion as efficiently as possible.
And there you have it, Taras Shmut. Yeah, hopefully we can get a victory. Hopefully we can get peace. Hopefully we can get that, but that's not what we're preparing for. We're preparing to fight because Russia is still coming. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where you're at. That's the news update today. Those are the facts today. Be careful. Make sure you choose your sources wisely, because there's a lot of rhetoric running out there and most of it's not true. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for being a part of our team and our community and the entire world that stands with Ukraine. Have a good day, and we'll see you later.